know, I showed you some animals that I caught for you before you got here so you can see them a little close up, but we've got some invasive species here that are kind of running free, and I'm going to go look for some now, particularly in iguanas. Iguanas have become a major problem here.
Ron Magill knows a little bit about wild animals.
Look, they're all over the exhibit here. Look at this. You think it's an iguana exhibit. And look at this big guy bobbing his head up and down. He's trying to attract a mate.
Look at the size of that one there.
Oh yeah, and he's in the sun. He's, you know, it's almost, if it wasn't so sad, it would be hilarious.
Because these are not on exhibit here.
They're not on exhibit here. This is a monkey exhibit. You think it's an iguana exhibit because there are iguanas all over the place.
Magill is communications director for Zoo Miami.
Hi, Mabel. How you doing, girl?
The presence of iguanas roaming free amongst the elephants, that's Mabel over there, the zebras and all the other creatures, is a perfect example, Magill says, of a big problem. Invasive species.
This guy here.
These are non-native animals that don't belong, have taken up residence in Florida, and are nearly impossible to get rid of.
You guys have a little towel because I'm going to catch this gecko and I don't want to get nailed.
The reptile Magill has taken out of the box is a Tokay Gecko, native to India, Southeast Asia, the Philippines. A beautiful creature with, as you can see, a nasty bite. It too has gotten a foothold in Florida. Smaller native lizards that keep pests like mosquitoes under control have either been run off by the Tokays or eaten by them.
The reason it gets the name Tokay Gecko is at night it makes a call and it sounds just like this, and it's this loud. It goes, Tokay, Tokay, Tokay. It'll do that all night long.
The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission says more than 500, that's right, 500 exotic species have been observed in Florida. Wow. Wow.
I call South Florida the Ellis Island of exotic animals. Everything comes in here and kind of funnels out. This is like the hub of the wheel for all exotic species.
The first thing he's going to do is he's going to take it out of the bag first. He's going to let it get oriented a little bit.
Without question, the poster child for exotic species in Florida is the Burmese python. Florida wildlife officials brought this one out, a 12-footer, to demonstrate for us how to catch them. If you happen to run across one, and you're crazy enough to mix it up with a snake in the grass.
He's going to quickly pin the head right behind with the rubber handle of the snake hook and then grasp that head, not strongly. It doesn't take a lot of strength, just keeping control of the animal.
Jenny Novak is a wildlife biologist for the state's Fish and Wildlife Commission.
Any idea how they got established in Florida?
We don't know for sure. There are ideas that pet owners had released some of these animals in the Everglades. Our first records go back to 1979, so quite a long time ago.
However they got out here into the Florida Everglades, they certainly must love it. It is estimated the python population could be 100,000. One recently caught was 18 feet long.
Getting rid of many of these invasive species is problematic because they have no natural enemies, and thus they end up at the top of the food chain.
Pythons are non-venomous but have been taking a devastating toll on native wildlife, from raccoons to wading birds. In January, the state will run its second Python Challenge, allowing hunters to capture and kill them for prizes. The first hunt 2 years ago brought in nearly 70.
68 pythons in a month's time was the most pythons ever removed in that time period. And that's actually a lot of pythons. They're very hard to find. They camouflage themselves very well. Detection rates are very low for this species.
Now, there are some bright spots in the battle against invasives. Florida's Agriculture Commissioner came to South Florida to deliver an update on efforts to eradicate one slimy menace.
No one wants one of these on the side of your house or on your pet food dish.
This is a giant African land snail. They can grow as large as your hand and eat just about anything, 500 varieties of plants, and even the stucco on your house, where they get calcium to build their shells.
So how would you say the size of this snail? Is this sort of the average size they are? They get bigger than this, right?
This is a medium size. This is a small end of large. Small end of large. The shells can get up 6 to 8 inches.
And most troubling, they carry a parasite that can cause meningitis in humans. To eliminate them, the state has used teams of workers, raking away leaves and brush to find them, pesticides too, and more recently, detection dogs that sniff out the snails. Since 2011, nearly 160,000 snails have been destroyed.
So the tentacles up here have little dark spots on it.
Yeah. Dr. Trevor Smith is with the Florida Department of Agriculture.
4 years ago, walking across a property, picking up snail after snail after snail. Now you go out to those same properties, you can't find a live snail.
A win is gratifying, but Smith says the celebrating doesn't last long.
Yeah, it is frustrating, and we really do go from emergency to emergency to emergency. It's a lot like forestry when they deal with fires. Plant industry, we deal with invasive species in the same way. We throw everything at it. And whether that's citrus canker, citrus greening, these exotic fruit flies, ficus whiteflies, giant African snails, it's the pest du jour. Whatever it happens to be, we have to tackle it.
These invasive species don't have to be big to cause a problem. We're out here in the agricultural growing areas of South Miami. And here, the smallest of creatures could destroy an entire industry. There's a trap right here, right?
Right, this is a Jackson trap. It is primarily to snag male flies.
This is the latest battleground. Traps are set up around the state to detect invasive insects. 45 Oriental fruit flies were detected in one trap in Dade County, threatening the area's $2.5 billion agriculture industry.
But to find 45 in a single trap means there's a big population here somewhere.
Female flies puncture holes in fruits, vegetables, and nuts to lay eggs, destroying the fruit. The area around where the flies were found is sprayed, called soil drenching, to kill the larvae. The mandate is clear: exterminate the flies immediately.
Once they escape into an environment like this, they not only survive, they thrive.
Back at Zoo Miami, Ron Magill has brought out Prince, a 10-foot albino Burmese python. Prince is like a living shawl around his neck.
What is it about South Florida that makes this such a great place for invasive species?
It's the climate. I mean, we're looking at basically Club Med for tropical animals.
Do you expect that we'll see more invasive species in Florida as the years go on?
I think there's no question that you're going to see all kinds of exotic animals establish themselves in South Florida. It's simply because of this climate. What makes us uncomfortable with the heat and humidity is life to animals like these. They thrive.
A just-released study by the University of Florida confirmed Magill's belief. It found that South Florida will likely continue to be the nation's hotspot for invasive species because of the climate, warm and humid. Magill had one more surprise for me.
Oh, jeez.
You got me good.
Sorry.
No, that was good. You had it. You did it. That was good. I set myself up for that. That was very nicely done. I should have known better with you that you're not gonna.
This is a cane toad, native to Central and South America. Here they are called bufos. In Australia, they were brought in to control beetles in the cane fields. Now they are out of control.
Those things are nasty.
These are actually, if I had to pick a poster animal internationally for invasive species, this is it.
The toads secrete a toxin too, the white stuff you see there. A dog biting into one can become deathly sick in seconds, foaming at the mouth.
It's believed that they escaped from a huge shipment that came in as a pet trade. Again, this was a pet. Why? Because it's this huge, gross toad. It's one of the largest. This thing can grow to be the size of a dinner plate. And again, it's a conversation piece. Look at it, it's Jabba the Hutt, you know? That's the whole thing about this. It's all conversation, it's all novelty, and then you realize, what the heck am I doing with this thing? And the next thing you know, they're hopping all over South Florida.
Now, it's not just land animals attacking Florida. The state is under siege beneath the water too. This is a lionfish, native to the Indo-Pacific region. Another beautiful, exotic creature creating a nightmare. Lad Akins is with the Reef Environmental Education Foundation.
They have far fewer parasites here than they do in the native territory. They grow much larger here than they do in the native territory. It's like you've opened the candy store doors and lionfish are having their way.
And they are voracious eaters and rabid breeders. Studies have found in areas where lionfish are present, the fish they prey upon have decreased 65 to nearly 100%. In some cases, that means completely wiped out. In 20 years' time, they have spread across the Gulf of Mexico, throughout the Caribbean, and north to Virginia. A single female can lay up to 50,000 eggs every 4 days. Scientists say they will soon be in South America. Like many other exotics, the lionfish have no natural enemies except humans. Their spines are venomous, keeping any potential predators at bay.
We don't even use that E word. Eradicate's not on the table with current tools and technologies. It's like weeds in the garden, John. You're never going to get rid of every last weed as hard as you try, but you're going to have to keep at it to keep those weeds down.
Weed whacking the lionfish garden is a never-ending process. Lionfish roundups are held around the state. These are the waters off Key Largo, Florida. About 20 teams of divers went on the annual hunt. Lionfish won't bite a hook. Spearing them is the best way to take them out.
These roundups bring in about 400 or 500 lionfish. Now, that may not seem a lot when there's millions of them out there, but research has shown that they have a tremendous impact.
In an area where a roundup has taken place, it's estimated at least 2 million prey fish are saved from becoming a lionfish meal. At this roundup, when the boats came in and the coolers were offloaded, the count was 488 lionfish.
330?
Each one measured.
He's probably just under an inch, maybe.
From the tiniest to the biggest.
Yeah, solid day. Those are 2 big fillets off that guy.
The best way to keep them in check may be for us to eat them. Turns out they are delicious. They made a tasty ceviche at the roundup. But researchers say in order to mass market lionfish, more efficient means than spears must be developed to catch them. So the bottom line with all these exotic species is pretty simple. No natural predators, top of the food chain, love the climate, and they were pets.
The problems arise when people bring things in as pets and they let them go. They don't have any knowledge about what these animals can do in the environment. They have goodness in their heart. Oh, fly, be free, go be free, you know, and they don't realize they're causing what can potentially be an economical and environmental disaster.
Because these creatures aren't going anywhere, and as Ron Magill says, Florida is Club Med for tropical animals.